Padres Hot Tub is a community-supported podcast. And even better, it's a podcast that spawned its own community. That's what's happened, courtesy of patreon.com/Padres Hot Tub, where around 600 folks are paying every month to join us, to be a part of our Discord, to be a part of our shows, our group therapy shows, our call-in post-game shows. And then it goes way beyond that, guys, that they become part of their own lives, folks meeting off campus, so to speak, so many different things, our ticket marketplace humming. It's really just a place for connections, the Padres Hot Tub community.
Today, we played softball in the Los Angeles Municipal League, and our shortstop was a person I met on Padres Hot Tub. We're friends. He's a good guy. We had an enjoyable afternoon, on a tough game, but because we're forging a whole new relationship, it made it all the better. And that is directly from Padres Hot Tub. You get in the tub, people start to get to know each other a little bit.
Absolutely. Hey, we gave away 3 tickets to Seth Shoot 21, one of our $5 patrons, to go see the Vedder Cup. Sorry about the result. Not sorry about you winning the tickets for free, courtesy of just being in our Discord and participating in our group therapy show last week. So I'll find out for yourself. It might be a community that you'll decide you want to select into and want to stick around and be a part of for months and years to come. Find out for yourself. Patreon.com/Padres Hot Tub. Welcome to the Padres Hot Tub, everybody. Greg Elsten, Chris Reed, Raphie Cantor, all together. Dancing is diminished from my partners at the start here. Sad faces, glum, frowny faces. Padres swept. Guys, the first year of the actual recognition of the Vedder Cup. And we've already lost. 0-3, going back to Seattle as the holders of the cup. The best we can do is tie. If you hold on the tie, you hold the cup. I've seen the Davis Cup. I get how this works. We can't win again. Fucking Mariners. You are going to be our rivals. Keep beating us like this.
Wait.
Vedder Cup.
I have an important question. Well, first of all, I will say the title of this episode will be Uneven Flow in tribute to Pearl Jam. But my question is, does the Vedder Cup, let's say we go to Seattle and we sweep, does it go to like run differential? Is it like the Champions League where it's like away goals? Like, is it away runs?
In that case, we're super fucked because we're down 12 in the run differential. We lost the series 15-3, and that means they've got 15 away runs. So, I think no matter how you slice it, it didn't work out the way we wanted. We're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about the entire week. Something I always feel like I want to do at the start of a show that we are recording an hour or so after our team has been swept at home is to remind everybody that the Padres have a good team. The Padres are 1 game out of first place in the NL West. They're tied with the Giants. They're very much in playoff position at the 45 game mark or whatever it is, 45, 50 game mark of the season. Every team looks like shit for a weekend or 3 or 4 in even the best teams. And, now the worst teams look like shit, most of the time. But, a good team looking awful for a weekend and not scoring and just looking like a fat, flat, thin pancake that you just want to throw out, like not the fluffy one that you want to eat, but that first one that just doesn't do anything. And you're just like, rise, pancake, and it just doesn't. That's what the Padres were this weekend. Don't need to go ape shit crazy about it. Padres are still a good team. Padres had a terrible, awful, not great weekend.
Yeah.
They did. It does help that the Dodgers also had a terrible, awful, not great weekend to me a little bit because, we keep expecting them to pull away and be inevitable like they've been described. Baseball Reference, the website I use for my arguments when they back up what I think, says that the Padres still have an 83.3% chance to make the postseason. That did not get affected much this weekend at all. Yeah, they use a little bit of a different calculus, Raphie, than Fangraphs. I don't pretend to know the nuances, but I like that number because it's bigger. So yeah, big picture, not great. But as we're going to discuss, there are some things about this team that are no longer small sample size. We are exactly, not exactly because today put it a little bit over, but yesterday was 1/3 of the season. So we're just at about 1/3. You take all the stats that we have, all the counting stats anyway, you multiply it by 3, you have a pretty easy projection of where they're going to be. And so it's not morning anymore. It's getting to be nearing afternoon in this baseball season, and there's some stuff that's concerning.
Yeah. I mean, Don Orsillo mentioned a stat in it was the top of the 8th inning or something like that. That the Padres went 0 for they ended up being 0 for 21 with runners in scoring position in this series. No way you cut that. That's terrible. But you have to go back to September 16th through 19th, 2019 in Milwaukee. That was the last time a Padres team went 0 for with runners in scoring position in a 3-game series. Now think about how much baseball has been played since 2019. And I especially want people to think back to 2023 when Letters to AJ was writing all about how the Padres were potentially going to be the worst hitting team with runners in scoring position since the Bronze Age. And that team did not once go 0 for in a 3-game series. To me, it's also worth noting that the Padres on the whole on the season are hitting .265 with runners in scoring position, which right now is 9th in Major League Baseball. So I don't think that this series is super worth panicking about for that reason alone. I don't necessarily agree that to do the whole thing of well, the Dodgers got swept this weekend, so therefore our sweep doesn't matter as much because it's in the middle of May. But what I will say
No,
to agree with you,
we
Chris,
beat the Angels and the Angels beat the Dodgers, therefore we're better than the Dodgers.
Well, yes,
that's
if you're and that's kind of what I was going to say. If you were looking objectively, you'd rather be swept by the Mariners than the Angels because the Angels are games you ought to be winning, and the Mariners are a first place team for whatever you want to say about the AL West. So in that sense, I don't mind it as much. But I'm really not thinking in terms quite yet. Talk to me after Memorial Day, which really isn't that far away. In terms of this series and standings watching and blah 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 blah. But there are some larger macro problems with this team offensively that we will be talking about later in the episode because I think it poses a potential structural problem.
Well, let's start talking about some things, okay? The Seattle series, 1 run, 1 run, 1 run, right? First game, shutout till the 9th. You scratch when you're down 5-0 or 4-0, 5-0, you lose 5-1. Okay, who cares? The next game, Gavin Sheets hits a solo homer. It's matched. Then a couple more homers for Seattle. You lose, low scoring, close game. Today, Tatis leads off against Brian Wu with a homer. But King cruises till the 4th, 2 outs, gives up a bomb to a Rosarena, followed by double, infield single. All of a sudden, it's a 3-1 game. Felt insurmountable. It did. And listening to the game while I was golfing today, it's like you just keep reminding yourself, like you could score 3 runs in 3 batters. It could happen that fast. It's things can come together all of a sudden, and it just didn't. As 2 kind of nondescript right-handers, and then Brian Wu, who's good, shut down the Padres. So that's the first place actually I wanted to start in terms of some interesting, maybe sign of wobble stats. The Padres are 19-12 against right-handed pitching this year, which is a fine record. They were 11-0 against right-handed pitching. So they are 8-12 in their last 20 against right-handed starters. And we've seen not just right-handed starters beat the Padres, but like the way that Wu did, where it's 50 pitches in 5 innings, 60 pitches in 5 innings, just cruising through the lineup. And I'm wondering if that, which we thought would not be an issue, all the left-handed batters are back now. Arise is back, Merrill's back, Cronenworth's back. We're supposed to be killing righties. Teams 8-12 in their last 20 against righties.
Yeah, I mean, I'm wondering how much of that is correlating to, like, think about when the season started, Gavin Sheets was in a real hot pocket, and he was hitting it out of his shoes, and he was exclusively hitting against right-handed pitching pretty much, and that's regressed a little bit. I'm gonna, if you guys could vamp a little bit, I'm gonna pull up some split stats for those last 20 games because I'm very curious as to what the problem is.
It's not just the last 20 games. Over the last 28 games, they have an OPS below 700. The team ain't hitting. The offense is not offensive, so to speak. And I want to hear your macro thing, Raphie, because it's really valid, and I see the data that you're looking at, and it is ugly, and I think it explains a lot of the problem. And what I want to bring up is kind of like a problem with identity among the offense, because last year the club had this never out of a game feeling, and this year it feels the complete opposite, and the numbers back it up, boys. They back it up hard. So when we're in watch party and the team's down 4-1 and we're seeing people call game, last year I was super confident in getting right in those people's faces and saying, are you even watching the same team I am? They're not out of any games whatsoever. This year, they get down 4-1, and I can't do the same because I kind of agree with them. As last year, you were seeing the approach of putting the ball in play pay off. This year, it may be contributing to an alarming lack of slug. So I want, like, what I feel like we are seeing a team that is kind of caught in between itself, just like Fernando Tatis Jr. caught between doing the toe tap, almost Shohei-esque with no leg kick like he was at the start of the season, and now doing the big leg kick, which we saw culminate with his first career walk-off home run on a pitch that he mistimed completely, but still had the raw natural talent to hit 108 miles per hour or whatever he did. I think that confusion is symbolic, not necessarily correlated to, but symbolic of a team that doesn't quite have its identity completely coalesced yet.
Yeah. Okay. Well, since you teed me up, why don't let's just get into it because I think it's going to be the big issue this year. So I've been going on and on, hence the biggest since we did the me and my mom and my Padres crossover episode. That was the first time we talked about the 180 home run problem that the Padres face. Right now, the Padres are 45 games into the season. and they've hit 41 home runs. So they are on pace for 144 home runs this season. Now, I know you can say all the stuff about it's still May and it's summer and the ball's going to pop out of the ballpark and the mountain heats up and the marine layers got okay? 144 home runs. Not great. I'm curious. I did a little stat head dive and I wanted to quiz you guys. So, since the wild card era, that is 1995, and if this is not counting the COVID season because nothing happened and it doesn't matter, it didn't count. So since 1995, that is 29 seasons. How many teams have made the playoffs hitting 144 or fewer home runs? Now, I'm going to give you the number of teams that are eligible to that were eligible to make the playoffs. The number of teams that made the playoffs each season. So in 29 seasons since 1995, not counting 2020, 131 teams have made the playoffs. That is wait, I might have done my math completely wrong. 131
teams. A shocking first, but there were playing games back then that could qualify for postseason is what my initial thought
single
with that
games.
was.
No, hang on.
That's true.
It was I did do my math wrong, but it's okay. I can fix it very quickly because I was only counting National League teams.
Can I do one thing with the 144 home run just to give perspective on that trajectory the Padres are currently on? Last year, in the batting average, the team that led Major League Baseball in batting average and wasn't known for its power production, they hit 190 home runs. The year before, with Juan Soto on the team and a little bit of a more thump to it, they hit 205 home runs. So that trajectory isn't marginal. That's a gigantic gap between what they've done in the recent history.
Okay, and so I'm just confirming now that I did do my math wrong because I was only counting one of the leagues. 262 teams have made the playoffs in those 29 seasons. So from 1995 to 2011, it was 8 a season. That's 17 seasons, by the way. From 2012 to 2019 and 2021, that's 9 seasons. That's when they added the wild card game. It was 10 teams a season, so that's 90 teams. And then since 2022, there have been 12 teams total making the playoffs every season, so that's 36 teams. So in total, it is 262 teams that are eligible to have made the playoffs. How many do you think hit 144 home runs or fewer?
Well, just like putting that, if I assume what the Padres did last year is near average, because I feel like they were near mid in league rankings for home runs last year. I'm going to go with, a 7.5% or so. So that would be like 35, 40 teams, 35 teams.
Craig, what's your guess?
I'll go under.
I'm sorry, you're cut out for a second. What did you say?
Oh, you were cut off to us.
Yeah,
as well. There was a cutting off. There was a mutual.
There was a cutting off.
I said I will. I would take the under, is what I said, to his 35 to 40.
Okay, you're gonna take the under. You're not gonna give it a guess though.
Coward.
Yeah, 20.
Okay, that's a great guess. That's a great guess. And if the price is right, you would win. 22 teams out of 262 possible teams have made the playoffs, hitting 144 or fewer home runs. That is 8.4% of teams. Okay.
Okay. Did any of them win the World Series, and were one of them the White Sox?
It's going to take me a second, to be honest. To
got it. Yeah. No,
but the 2005 White Sox did not win the World Series. I can see at least one team has won the World Series.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So point is, we need to hit some more homers now.
Yeah.
Let me throw a couple of things here. At this stage last year, middle of May, I could go try to find the exact numbers, but I'm pretty willing to say that Manny, he wasn't on 3, but he was on 5 or 6 homers. That Merrill hadn't. Remember, it was in June that Merrill all of a sudden started hitting a homer every day. Had that homestand, like 5 home runs in 7 games. And Higashioka was sitting on like 1 homer, 1 or 2 homers at this point last year. So the Padres, who wound up with 190 homers last year, they were sitting on a pretty unpowerful trajectory at this time last year and wound up in a lot better place. So I just wanted to say that for optimism, that there's an opportunity for, if Manny stays on it, he's going to hit 9 homers. Do we really think Manny Machado is going to finish the year at 9 home runs? Now, Elias Diaz might, but I don't think. I'm a little more confident in that specifically. However, getting to 180, I don't know. That's a long way to go.
I just want to say that today is May 18th, and through May 18th of last season, the Padres had hit 48 home runs. So they'd hit 7 more home runs than where they're at
7?
now. So not drastically different, but it's more. It's almost
20% more. Yeah,
it's almost 20% more. So just something to think about. I did want to quiz you guys because I mentioned that 22 teams had made the playoffs hitting 144 or fewer home runs since the wild card era. One of those teams was a Padres team. Any guesses as to which year that was?
Which Padres team made the playoffs? This should be pretty easy for us. Okay, let's think this through. So you said this was since 1990.
Since 95.
No.
Since 95.
95. Okay, so
yeah.
So our eligibles are 96, 98, 2005, 2006.
And not 2020, I'm assuming.
Not 2020, not in this list.
Okay.
No.
All right.
So I'm going to just say 2005.
Chris, what's your guess?
It's a coin.
Same guess?
It's a coin flip between that and 2006, but I don't know. 1996 was a weird year too.
Okay.
I'm going to go 96.
Okay. You guys are technically so Craig is right, but it was 2005. The Padres team that made the playoffs with 82 wins hit 130 home runs. Okay. Now, what I will say is the second lowest home run total is 1996, which is 147 home runs. That team went 91 and 71. The other thing that I wanted to add to this list is, let's say that the Padres do pick up the pace. Let's say instead of pacing for 144 home runs, they hit 160 home runs, which would be an improvement from where they're at now. Any guesses as to how many teams out of the 262 eligible?
Does it double at least? Does it at least double the field?
More than double, 55.
Chris?
I'm worried now because I was so high on the last one. 50, I'll go with 23 just to make sure I win Price is Right style.
Oh, I thought you were going to do 56 to ace me out.
So here's the thing. It exactly doubles. It is 44 teams make the playoffs. It's still only 16.8% of teams out of all of them eligible make the playoffs with 160 home runs or fewer. Now, what the Padres have going for them is they have great pitching. And they've had good pitching all year. And the thing that you've noticed in the last couple of weeks is that the bullpen hasn't been as lights out as it was. And when the bullpen was lights out, you didn't have to hit home runs. But once you get some regression and the bullpen looks a little bit more mortal than it did, you got to start hitting homers. Because if you're not going to hit with runners in scoring position, which, mind you, again, I said I wasn't worried about, but you're going to have to get it. Something's got to give. All right? So just something to keep our eye on for the way this team is constructed.
Raphie, like when you first put your finger on this, it felt, like a chink in the armor. And the way you phrased this question kind of gave me a little bit of a visceral response. You asked, is this a fatal flaw for the team? And I was like, no, it's May 18th. There's no fatal flaws in May on a team that's 10 or well, it won't be 10 games above 500.
9 now, but yes.
9 now, yes. So that doesn't exist. So I started pulling on this and I started looking into it. And the same thing that I had been talking about, where the team doesn't feel in the games this year, I think there's a reason for it. And I think it helps lead to the lack of power that we're seeing. So last year, when the team had that batting average mentality, a big reason they had, a big reason why that felt like it was working and why we felt confident, why I felt confident coming into it this year, is they had a lot of really good luck with it. The BABIP last year in runners in scoring position, let me find it. There it is. Was 302. Pretty darn high. And the team, hit 269, 759 with runners in scoring position. And the year prior, we have this feeling of them being so tragically bad at it. In the beginning of the season, they certainly were. But when you look at how it wound up after they went on to a little bit of a hot streak, the batting average is 20 points lower, sure. But the OPS is only 30 points lower. BABIP also 30 points lower. So underperforming in all those things. This year, BABIP with running and scoring position, they're hitting 323. And their splits aren't all that bad. We're looking at 262 batting average, 727 OPS. So the runners and scoring position struggles may explain this series loss. I think it certainly does. They put up a historic over, but that didn't explain this feeling I have of them being out of games. And then I started looking at the clutch stats for this year. And boys, when this team is behind in games, they have a 227 batting average, a .599 OPS. Absolute
anytime
garbage.
They're behind?
That is when they are playing behind. Last year, for reference, 717 OPS, 246 batting average. They hit, this is, go ahead and divide this by 3, but 77 home runs they hit when behind last year. So let's go ahead and call that 25 is what our pace should be this year. They have 7 home runs when behind in games this year. The leverage stats aren't that much better. They have below 700 OPS in high leverage situations, in 251 at bats, not plate appearances. It's almost 300 plate appearances in high leverage, but in 251 at bats in high leverage this year, they have 4 home runs, gentlemen. Yeah. They have 4 home runs. For some reason, this team, when it's behind, I don't want to throw out the pressing excuse. I don't know what it is. But last year, all we heard is our guys are never out of it. We're always in it. And right now, at watching the team play, I don't feel that way. And that behind statistic, under 600 OPS, 101 strikeouts in 444 at-bats. That has to be their worst split when it comes to strikeouts. This is not a team that strikes out a quarter of the time. Like, that is not the team's identity. That's not who they've been the past couple years. But right now, when playing behind, they absolutely are. We heard the first Mike Schilt, I'm not going to alibi anything, in the press conference today because they got swept, and that's when the alibis might come. But I'd like to know where the team has been when playing from behind. Like, who were they with?
Yeah.
Well, and
go ahead, Craig.
Sorry. Well, the one thing I just want to say and toss back to you, and I think you might agree to this, Raphie, is that I think one of the things that baseball lends itself to for people who talk about or write about baseball is to take what's going on and assign narrative meaning to it. And it could be just as likely that 2024, the team was a little bit luckier than they've been in 2025, and they were less lucky in 2023, and that it wasn't a skill that was improved in 2024, nor is it a skill that's been reduced in 2025, that a lot of this could be noise instead of being a signal so far.
I don't know. I mean, I think just in terms of the 2024 to 2023 thing, I do think that we saw a distinct change in approach from the team, and that they went to a contact-oriented approach, and that paid dividend in those kind of clutch situations. The playing poorly from behind thing is very reminiscent of 2023, where if you remember, it was like that season, it was like, if we were winning, we were going to win that game, and if we were losing, we were going to lose that game. And we had, like, I think the fewest come from behind victories or something like that in 2023.
So, Raphie, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Go ahead.
The K rate was worse in 2023, like substantially. It's much closer to a third, 467 strikeouts in 1,746 at-bats. But the team still, and the batting average was much worse, 40 points lower. But the slug made up for that. When behind, they were nearly 100 points better in OPS, 0.684. Not good. Not good at all. But not sub 600 like this team is now. And like when you watch, I know this goes to what Craig's saying. We just had a bad weekend. You want to assign a narrative. Manny Machado had an absolutely awful final at bat. Like, swung at 3 bad pitches off the plate. And we've seen Manny do that before. But I don't know, guys. Like, my gut watching the team feels like the team is out of games late. And like I said, Craig, I don't want to assign a narrative. I don't want to say they're pressing. I don't know what they're talking to Victor Rodriguez about before they go up to plate when behind. And I don't know the attitude of the dugout. But I know those numbers are dog shit, and they won't come back from many games. And this team's victory formula had been earlier in the season jumping out to a lead, protecting it with the fantastic bullpen. And that's a great way to win games. But I also loved it last year when they were never out of a game and we saw as many comeback wins as we did. That is what gave the team momentum going into the playoffs. Go ahead, buddy.
Well, I was just going to say, instead of chasing the why, I think you've done a great job of presenting the what. The team has not come from behind. They are not hitting in these situations. The games have taken certain shapes. Now, that doesn't mean that they're going to continue to take the exact same shape, but that's what's happened, to this point. When I'm thinking about, well, why does that happen? Why don't you come back? I'll go to something very, very basic and tie the two of you together. You don't come back as much when you're not hitting for power. Power lets you come back the quickest and the easiest, right? Boom, gone. 3-run shot. That's all the Padres needed most of today was a 3-run shot, and it's just not to be found. So why? Okay, well, here's the single most obvious thing. When you add Jason Hayward, Oscar Gonzalez, and Brandon Lockridge together, you get 192 at-bats this season, and they've added up to 2 homers. Those 3 players have hit 2 homers in 192 at-bats. none of them have a slugging percentage over 300, which is obviously pathetic. So that's a position on the field that is producing absolutely nothing power-wise for the San Diego Padres. First base is a position that's not going to produce any power for the San Diego Padres. Luis Arraez has hit 3 of his 6 homers for the year, already, or maybe 3 of his 7 homers for the year. He's hit those, but it doesn't mean he's going to hit, 12 or something. He's not going to. So you're already sacrificing at that position, power-wise. The 2 catchers have actually combined for 5 homers. So now I get to what I kind of was getting at earlier, which is like, okay, Manny Machado has hit 3 home runs. What's our concern-o-meter that Manny will not get to 20 plus home runs this year?
I still trust the captain, and I'm gonna put that a 3. But like that could talk to me in 3 weeks, brah.
Yeah. Okay. So hang on. This is a great question because my concern-o-meter, to answer your question, is about a 4. I actually think that Manny's I could see him hitting like 6 or 7 home runs in June or something like that, and then it's like, okay, just to get to 20 on the year, like that, like he'll eclipse that. What I'm more interested in is that when we did our 180 home run problem in podcast, we had said we were going to get 70 home runs from Nando and Manny combined. Nando's, I think, going to hit that mark. He's going to do his share of it. I think right now he's on pace to hit 43 or 44 home runs, something like that. So
I think Nando's got a 70 home run season in him one day. Maybe.
Let's say 43 home runs. Let's say he's on pace to hit 43, which I think is rounding down. Is Manny going to hit 27?
Okay. Yes, he is.
Okay.
And my concern-o-meter on this question that I asked you is a 1. Wow. It's a 1. Okay. This time last year, Manny Machado, coming back from an elbow injury, sold out very, very early. If you remember, he hit a couple of home runs. He hit a homer in the Seoul series. But he hit 1 homer and 100 at-bats in the month of May last year. And at the end of May, 216 at-bats into his season, he had 5 homers. And then he hit 5 in June, 6 in July, 7 in August, and 6 in September. And he wound up with 29 home runs. And he's going to do it again. I'm not worried about Manny Machado getting to 25 homers this year. I think it is, unless he's hurt, significantly hurt, I will be a 9 surprised on May 18th. It's a 1 on the concern-o-meter if he hits 24 or fewer home runs this season. He's Manny Machado. He gets off to slow starts. He heats up. He's hit for a high average, so I should be excited. As a Manny owner in 2 different fantasy leagues this year, I should be excited because he's hitting for a high average, and when the power comes, this could be one of his best seasons ever. But the power has not come, but I'm not worried about him from a power standpoint.
I mean, to back that up, his expected slug is 555, which would be, I believe, the highest in his career. Yes, it would be. It would be the highest in his career. So he has the profile of the batted ball profile of a much better hitter than he's been in actual results. So if I'm going to stick by what I believe, and I do believe it, I would just say, Manny, keep hitting the ball exactly the way you've been doing it, and good things are going to happen. So the question for me is, down the lineup, like, are we going to get, like, I think we penciled in 15 home runs from Xander Bogaerts when we did it.
Okay.
And I
now,
think that
what's
was
our
us being
concernometer?
conservative.
What's our concernometer that Xander Bogaerts hits 14 or fewer home runs this year?
Coin flip for me, 5. Like,
I think that's a great
him
over-under.
turn around. Yeah, like we've seen him start to hit the ball a little bit here. Have we seen him hit the ball like he did in Boston? No. Again, we're still waiting for that. So if he does that, he'll hit 15. He might hit 20, but at Petco Park, really coin flip for me, man.
I'm a concernometer is like a 7. Like
371
I'm with you.
slug.
No, I'm with you. I don't see it. I don't see the power. I don't see him driving the ball. It doesn't mean that he can't change it. I should bank on his numbers, but the difference between him and Manny is that Xander has had steady decline.
Yeah.
Whereas Manny gets his, so right now I'm thinking Xander might hit 10 homers this year. And Raphie, honestly, this is the heart of your 180 homer issue. Is you've got one position, left field, where Profar hit 24 last year, and that's down to 2 with like no hope of really any of those guys going power hungry. And all of a sudden, Jason Hayward's going to wind up with 18 homers. Like, I don't see that. And then on the other side, you've got Xander, who is supposed to be a 20, 21, 24, 23, and he might not hit 10.
Yeah. But the problem again, like I hear what you're saying about Profar and everything. I just think structurally the team is elected to put a guy out there at first base who doesn't hit home runs. Like,
yes,
and
that's right.
And so you got to make
him
those
second. Give him lots of at bats
and bat him second, which that part doesn't bother me quite as much, but it's the fact that he plays first base. And so you're going to have to make those home runs up somewhere else. And you did last year. You did with Profar and Higashioka. Like, and both those guys are gone, and their replacements have not at all lived up to the task.
The formula has not worked this year. They tried the exact same thing they did last year with Profar, and Profar turned in a top 10 MVP season, out of nowhere. None of us expected him to do that, right? And none of us expected Jason Hayward and Connor Joe to do the same thing. But Jason Hayward now has a lower WAR than Yuli Gurriel. And I know he's had more at-bats, so, it's not quite as much concentrated suck, but the suck is still significant. And the team, I feel like this is the fatal flaw on the team. Like, that hole in the lineup out there every day is the thing that could hold them back, dragging them down. And guys, I want to see the team act on it. I want to see them be aggressive on it. I love me with some Tirso. He's not the answer. I think the team needs to do a strength for strength challenge trade with, if they have to give up a lights out reliever or somebody from their pitching to one of these other contending teams that have decent players, I am signing up for it right now.
I don't know if I can go there yet, but I am very much willing to co-sign that power is going to remain an issue for the Padres. I just continue to look back and just look year to year. And where are we losing the homers? Because, hey, really, it's not Bogaerts. I pick on Bogaerts and shit on him all the time. Bogaerts hit a lousy 11 homers last year.
Something we just haven't seen him be.
He was hurt for like 2.5 months last year.
He was hurt for a period of time for sure. He still got 428 at bats. I mean, he got 428 at bats. He hit 11 homers. So, here's another one. Love me some Jose Iglesias. Glad he got a little playing time today, got a couple of hits. Nice to see. Iglesias is a decent little player. Okay? Ha-Seong Kim got 2 years, $29 million or whatever, even with a bum shoulder. Why? Last year, having his worst year, Kim hit 11 homers.
Yep.
Like, Iglesias might hit 1. Like, he might hit 3. Like, maybe. But that's another chunk of homers. The Profar chunk is a real chunk of homers lost. It's not as much, but Kim's contribution was something. Campusano hit 8 homers last year, and Higashioka hit 17. That's 25 bombs out of 2 guys in the catcher position. Is that coming back, at any point? David Peralta stepped in and hit 8 homers. Donovan Solano hit 8 homers last year. Do we think that Lockridge and Wade are going to combine for 16 homers this year?
Sheets could. Sheets could get
But
there.
that's a different player. That's a different category of player.
But isn't he, similar to where Solano and Peralta, like Peralta had DH days and
but Sheets is basically playing every day. He's pretty much the everyday DH. I guess you could say he's taking strides to fill Profar's homers, right? Like, but then there's another spot in the lineup that is left empty as a result. And Jackson Merrill has 4 homers, and he finished last year with 24, and he got hot in the summer. And as Machado and Merrill get hot, if Tatis stays hot, that'll be some power for this team. But I do think that this team needs to add specifically power, specifically to left field, and find somebody who can crush a lot, and if they can go find that guy, I don't want to trade a reliever like Chris just said, but, figure out a way, get there. And I think by the deadline, this team is going to be positioned to make a move. I think, and we've identified what they need. That's better than having no idea what to improve.
You want some fire? I would trade Dylan Cease for it, because that player will play every day. If it's enough of a name, somebody with enough of a resume on their thing, I think it's that important.
Wait a second.
I am not going to co-sign that.
Yeah, wait a second. Hang on. Yeah. No. The type of team that's acquiring Dylan Cease isn't giving up their, are the
strength
Blue Jays
for strength,
giving a
baby.
Santander or something like? Who are we getting for Cease?
I have no idea. I have no clue who has the depth in their system to bring up a young outfielder that they could trade a vet. Like, if the Phillies pitching fall apart, but they just brought up Mick Abel and he dealt in his debut. I don't know who it is. I'm just saying my desperation for this to be fixed is intense. And, I would pay for it out of pocket big time right now.
Reed has built an alternate universe here, Raphie, where Nick Castellanos is going to be running down fly balls off of Kyle Hart, because Kyle Hart's back in the rotation because he's dealt Cease, and then 2 guys get hurt, and Hughes on a sabbatical, and all of a sudden it's Castellanos out there trying to huff and puff.
Sir,
and run down.
You are talking to a 4-time out of the park World Series champion.
Just what Chris wants is the post-game pressers where it's like, hey, cuz, you see the sliders that Kyle Hart was throwing against the Kiwoom Heroes over in Korea? He falls off the table.
He won the Korean Cy Young. Cy Young. You should put some respect on his name, cuz.
Yeah.
Matt Waldron's coming back. Jay Groom's coming back.
Jay Groom's not going anywhere.
Jake Room's in the sports book at Little Caesars right now. What are you talking about?
Little Caesars sport book.
Jay Groove.
I didn't mean to do that. I meant to say Caesar's Palace, but it's so good. It doesn't matter.
These parlays are hot and ready.
Yeah, those are $5 parlays, baby.
Teaser.
That's good.
Sad thing is, where he was staying in El Paso, that's what they have. They don't have. That's what they have is a Little Caesar Sportsbook. Brilliant stuff right there. I absolutely love it. So the Padres go to. By the way, Padres went 2-4 last week. This is another one of my little things. Like, okay, they got swept by the Seattle Mariners. That sucks. Padres went 2-4 last week. It's not the end of the universe when you go 2-4. It's 1 off, 3-3. Sucks. It's not good. The game I'm most upset about losing out of the week is Monday.
Yeah.
It's blowing a save with Robert Suarez and not reacting in time and having Suarez fall apart and having Schilt ride it all the way down to the, well, maybe the next one's going to be a double play, cuz, and having it, melt in his hands and fall all over the dugout. That was the game that hurt more than any of the Mariner games. The Mariner games were just blah, lame, sucky baseball losses that happen and are desultory. And for me, you can kind of throw them in the bin of 50 of the 50 games that you're guaranteed to lose. Like, those were 3 of them this weekend, 3 games you were never going to win against shitty Seattle, Vedder Cup, whatever. Obviously, the team did not take the Vedder Cup as seriously as we all did not get locked in on the Ved. But one more American League team here, starting things off after a travel day across the border, Toronto. And guys, the Padres, this fine Padres club, 27-18 on the year. They've lost 18 games all season, 14 to the American League. They're 10-14 against the American League. Also, and related, the Padres have played 45 games. They're a National League team, last I checked. And 24 of the 45, more than half, have been against the American League, which is just stupid.
Scheduling's been insane this year.
It's just a dumb schedule. And like, if you look ahead and who cares? You're complaining about the schedule. That means you're a loser. Like, when you look ahead, it's just weird. Like, okay, how about the month of June? How many times are we going to play an American League team in the month of June? Once. Kansas City. How about in the month of July? Once. Texas. But here's a streak of 3 series in a row against American League teams. So we front loaded against something that for some dumb reason we're struggling against. And I guess I just have to say this in closing and handing it back to you. Guys, I don't think we're going to win the American League pennant this year. I think we're screwed.
Well, I guess this is all an illusion. Like, the NL and AL, it doesn't matter anymore now that there's universal DH. Like, it's all just baseball teams now. My question that I have at larger macro to you is, do you miss the unbalanced schedule? Are you turning against the balanced schedule? What are your thoughts? Would you rather be playing these games against the Dodgers, Rockies, Giants, and Diamondbacks?
No.
I guess not.
I don't even
if we were carrying the American League, we'd love it.
I mean, like, look, there's an argument for a year like this where all 4 NL West teams besides the Rockies are in it, that it could be really fun. Like, it'd be really fun to have, like, 18 games against each team, and then you're really, like, duking it out, and, like, arguably more of those games matter theoretically, and also in an environment in which you have expanded the playoff, those are all potential playoff teams theoretically. So you're playing, like, more games against potentially future playoff teams in your league. So I don't know. There's something to it. I'll just say I do really like the fact that you do play every team at least once a year, and it's like college football where you do home one season and away next season against the American League. Like I do think that is cool, but there is something that feels a little bit missing about not playing all those division teams.
I also don't want to be like traveling around the AL in August and September. Like I want the games played against our rivals, the teams that we need to beat to get into the playoffs. Number one, because it's more compelling. Number two, because you can make up more ground. And just taking a quick look at it, our last series of the season is against the Diamondbacks, like it feels like it always is now. But we'll also see the Orioles and the White Sox in September. Kind of yum there. And in August, we only see the Twins and the Red Sox from the AL. So towards the end of it, we're going to see a lot more team. Oh no, the Mariners as well. Fuck. In September. Oh, it's not my birthday. Okay, thank goodness. But yeah, and I want to see the more natural rivals and not the more marketing rivals come the end of the season.
Well, the last thing for me is I've held him off long enough. He asked actually to lead off the show, but with the sweep. But
he's got a brother out there, by the way.
Oh yeah, I don't recognize him.
Yeah. Hey, listen,
Craig, thank you very much. Hey, everybody! Thank you very much. It's it's great to be here. I mean, I'm really disappointed in what happened over the course of the last 3 days, and I think obviously it's a sign that the chickens have come home to roost. But I just thought I'd close the show with a little song. Oh, what a beautiful morning. Oh, what a beautiful day. Mariners swept up the Padres. Now you can see things my way. Everything sucks and it'll be terrible forever. Diamondbacks are pretty good, though. Dodgers are inevitable. All right, guys. Thanks. See ya.
I'm impressed.
What's Schmebby's last name?
McShitty.
Schmebby McShitty. Where does Schmebby live? Is he like a Poway guy or like he down in Imperial Beach or where?
Houston, Texas.
Oh, he's not even.
He lives in Houston.
He's not even local.
He grew up in Santee when Santee was even worse.
I was thinking maybe Santee. I was thinking he works at the Raising Cane's off of Mission Gorge.
Don't you dare come for Raising Cane's. That's sauce.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to. Could you just imagine? I have to charge you extra for the sauce,
motherfucker.
Sauce is gonna be an extra 35 cents. Thank you.
What does Schmebby think about what does Schmebby think about the fact that on this road trip to Toronto and Atlanta, we are currently slotted to be pitching or to be hitting against 6 right-handed starters? All 6.
The way things are going, I think that's going to be 6 right-handed.
Why are we giving
one runs
more air?
And that's it. I could just sing a few more songs on the show.
I love Schmebby. I love Schmoopy. Is Schmoopy coming, Chris? Is Schmoopy raising his hand to be on the show?
Nope.
Schmoopy's nowhere to be found. Schmoopy's high on mushrooms in Pike Place Market because they thought the games were in Seattle this weekend. So, hey man, not so bad, man. See you back in September again, man.
Oh. A lot of fun. We've made it fun. Found a way to make it fun when the Padres got swept and the Vedder Cup was ripped from us, and Eddie Vedder still just looks. Do you think Eddie Vedder at any point this weekend looked up any of these 3 scores?
Probably only in the context of he was watching the Cubs game, and in the Wrigley Field scoreboard, they had the score listed, and he was like, oh, yeah.
I just want to say I've long maintained Vedder Cup is useless and a stupid idea that no one likes. I've long maintained this.
I used to love it, but now that the Padres like it, now I hate it. Wait, you're going to recognize it as official? I hate it now, especially when you go 0-3. All right. We're back with post-game shows later this week. We'll be back with group therapy at the end of the Toronto series, and we'll be back next week with another Padres Hot Tub full strength. Until then, for Chris and Raphie and Remy Schmemy, I'm Craig. Go Padres. Score some runs.